Hello, my name is Kevin, and I am a recovering alcoholic. And I am diagnosed with a pretty bad case of liver cirrhosis. Um, I probably tried recording this like 20 times, so I'm just gonna go for it as I found comfort in not only studying and reading up more on this very bizarre disease, why it happens, how it works, and stuff like that. But what really helps is listening to other people, you know, like YouTube vlogs and like articles and just personal journey, like journals online and things like that. So I found that there aren't really that many people in my situation as I'm 29, and it's yeah, it's not very common for a 29-year-old to be this badly afflicted. So this is my story, in hopes of reaching out to somebody that has a might be struggling with addiction or knows of someone struggling with addiction, or I don't know, maybe is sick with liver disease, which is a very horrible illness, let me tell you. um, Today being June 3rd 2025, I was diagnosed August 25th of 2024. I've always been a pretty heavy drinker. Anyone that knows me knows that very well. I've bartended my whole life. That didn't really help, part of the party crowd and things like that. And then I don't know, at some point you kind of stop realizing how much you actually drink until you stop, and then you're like, holy, this is out of control. This is not funny. This is not cool. It's not cute. It's kind of pathetic, actually. And then one day, I kept drinking after my diagnosis, honestly, and I just was stubborn. I was like, you know what, this is the way it ends, and it ends. And I didn't realize just how painful it was, not only physically but spiritually, mentally, emotionally. You know, it, you hurt not only yourself but the people around you. I started to hurt my family members, my friends, my close friends. My beautiful girlfriend, wife, fiance, whatever she wants me to call her, and my children. Yeah. So I learned the hard way. One day I just got really sick. Like, we're talking like just throwing up, just things that don't look like throw up. My stomach started to swell up, and then I found myself losing weight rapidly for no reason. Like I lost like 30 pounds in like a matter of a month. People were like, hey, like, are you doing drugs or something? I was like, no, I'm not. I was eating and I was still losing weight. And one day I went to the hospital because I had this excruciating pain, which I thought was just pancreatitis, but it was a pancreatitis and amongst other things. And they told me like, hey, like, you have cirrhosis. And then just being stubborn as I am, I kept drinking and drinking, making it worse. Like, it just, the symptoms get so much worse. You start to lose way more weight, and then at some point you don't, like, your loved ones don't know what to do. They look at you like helpless, and then you start to realize like what am I doing? And then one day I just took a look around me, and I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore, and I started to take it very serious. But by then I had done really severe damage. I was bloating up with something called ascites, which is when your body can't regulate liquid intake. So I lost a lot of weight. I was a skin and bone. I still kind of am. You kind of still see it. Um, yeah. And then, but I just had a huge gut. It just didn't look right. I was always tired. Like, any kind of food would always burn and hurt. It was just agonizing pain. And then I just went to I took it upon myself. I was like, you know what? I don't want to drink anymore. I don't want to smoke cigarettes. I don't want to smoke weed. I don't want to do any of this stuff anymore. And then I went to the doctor, and they're like, if you keep at it for just a couple more days, you're going to die. And it just, that was enough for me. And here comes the hard part, when you want to stop and you want to change. You start to realize, like, holy, I've really been neglecting my life, and then the little things in life that really do matter, and things like that. And then the hospitals, man, the hospitals. I started getting things called paracentesis, which is a giant needle they stick in your stomach to drain excess protein your body can't regulate. I spent many times in the ER because of pain, or I was just too weak to walk, couldn't stomach any kind of food at some point, to the point where even water hurt to drink. It was just bad, and nothing was working. I started taking all my vitamins, all my medicine, and you start to feel really helpless. And you're trying to fight the depression, of course, and you're trying to be strong for those around you, because you realize you can handle this pain. And let me tell you, paracentesis is excruciating. It feels like someone's pouring boiling hot gasoline into your stomach, and it hurts like crazy. Pancreatitis hurts like crazy. Gastritis hurts like crazy. You think you're tough, you're not. That'll make you realize what pain really is. And I went out. I kept going in and out of the hospital. I was living at the hospital to the point where I couldn't even work anymore. I had to take a leave of absence. And then yeah, just I was like, I can't give up. I got to keep going. Like I kept looking at my kids, looking at my girl, looking at my friends, looking at my mom, my dad. Like things like that. And I was like, do it for them, keep fighting for them. And I just kept fighting because it wasn't enough for myself. And then in the process, it became enough for myself. I started to care more. I was like, dude, you deserve more than this. And I just kept, reaching out to people online and stuff like that, because obviously it's not a very common thing. I don't know anyone that has it, and it's you feel so isolated. Uh, and then little by little, I started to gain energy again. I started to gain weight. I feel great now. The people who I hurt in the process forgave me, and I can confidently say like I'm doing better. Like today, I got lab results from one of my doctors, and she says that I'm stabilizing completely. Like aside from my cirrhosis, which is a permanent thing, it has no cure. I am stabilizing. I have a shot at life. I have another shot at life. One more. And that's all I kept asking for. I don't know if people are spiritual or whatever, but I am. And then I kept asking, just please, just one more chance, and I won't mess this up ever again. I guess my point of this video is to really put it out there. If you know of anyone going through these things, even if they don't want to talk about it, just try. It's embarrassing. It's really embarrassing. You don't want to talk about it. You want to come off as macho and strong and powerful. And, especially Latinos, we don't like asking for help. But just try. I've known of people who've died recently of this, and it's just a horrible way to go. People are going younger and younger. So I guess that's my message from you guys. And I hope that this message goes out, reaches somebody, and really, you know, they find comfort in what I'm saying. That you're not alone, and you know what? It does get better. It does get better. I'm sober. I'm fighting. It's the battle's not over, but I can confidently say I'm happy again. It wasn't easy, but I'm happy.